the meeting to order of the Public Safety Committee for the City of Hudson, March 18th, 2019. Roll call, please.
Alderperson Holmes?
Here.
Alderperson Hall? Here. Alderperson Morset?
Here. Minutes from January 10th. Any corrections or revisions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion clearly passes. Number 3, parking. We'll do number discussion and possible action to restrict parking on the north side of St. Croix Street between 2nd and 3rd Street. Chief, I know this was yours before it came back before us.
Yeah, and I sent an email and tried calling, but he's clearly not here. So, I don't know. There's been no further development since the last time we met. I know that we took the pictures, right, and there seems to be shrubs that might be blocking the way also, but those are on public property or on private property, and they look to me to be in compliance with the ordinance, back far enough from the sidewalk. So I don't know if there's anything you can do there, but there is a view obstruction there. I don't know what you guys are thinking.
I guess I would suggest that we postpone any action until we maybe hear any more complaints and go from there. What's your pleasure?
Well, I think that it would be worthwhile to send out a letter to the homeowner where that bush is obstructing and just requesting that they trim it back for a better view from there.
Looks like it's a whole hedge that kind of borders their property with the alley and then follows along kind of that corner.
Okay.
Mike Miraz, do you ever have any issues with there?
I've never heard of anything.
Okay. Again, I would suggest we delay any action provided we get any more complaints.
Okay.
I would agree with that.
Do you need a motion for that?
Sure.
All right, I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Number 3, discussion possible action on the parking ordinance update. Jeff, we have a presentation by Nick Coliani, and Mr. Michael Johnson will be his backup. So if you want to take the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name's Nick Coliani.
Yeah.
I live at 113 Juniper Way in Hudson, Wisconsin.
So Nick was charged with the great honor of delivering and kind of explaining what's happening in our parking as we move forward to implementation.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for all the work that you've done on this. I know that you've put in a lot to do this.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. And thank you for having me here tonight.
Yep.
So as many of you know, or maybe all of you know, the city has purchased some new parking technologies, and these parking technologies are intended to enhance the system that we have in Hudson. In an effort to integrate these new technologies with the parking system, the parking work group has put together some recommendations to the city ordinances that might help to integrate it better. The recommendations that we've come up with are based on a parking study that was completed by Rich and Associates and adopted by the council in 2018. Our goal here is to encourage the parking public to adopt the new technology without offending them. We believe that the short-term outcome of implementing these recommendations would be a perceived increase in the number of spaces available by encouraging the turnover of the transient parking spaces more frequently and with voluntary compliance of the parking ordinances themselves. Long term, we believe that these recommendations position the city to take advantage of opportunities to expand the parking system, to offer additional parking opportunities within the city of Hudson by generating revenue that not only supports the parking system as it is today or as it will be in a few months, but also into the future. I believe that you all have the discussion points that had been sent out in advance. And many of those recommendations listed in there are housekeeping items, or what I would call housekeeping items, changing some definitions, using words like pay stations instead of meters, using a fee zone, a parking fee zone, instead of a meter zone, not to confuse pay stations with the parking meters, and renaming some of the parking lots that will allow us to more easily identify the areas. The next set of items really relate to the parking rates. Our recommendation is that we keep the rate at 50 cents per hour, but calculated in a 1-hour increment. As far as parking permits go, we're recommending a $100 parking permit for downtown employees, or $10 a month, or a $200 parking permit for anybody else, $20 a month. Those recommendations to start increasing the permit fees are straight out of the Rich and Associates study that they did in the city of Hudson. The next set of recommendations really pertains to time limits or time enforcement of the parking. We're recommending 3-hour parking on all streets in downtown. That includes the parking fee zones and non-parking fee zones, so places where meters or pay stations are not placed as well. For the permit holders who need 8-hour parking for their shifts downtown, we're recommending that we create these areas at the Beach House lot, the Williams lot, and the North lot. Seasonally, we further recommend taking advantage of the boat launch parking ramp, or the boat launch parking lot as well. This would be from October 1st through April 30th. We believe that that would provide us with some additional options for 8-hour parking downtown. The final piece of our recommendations is around enforcement. We'd like to add 1 hour a day to the current enforcement time and shift the enforcement time from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. We believe that this will help us to cover more of the evening activity in downtown. We'd also like to add Saturdays to the enforcement schedule. So that's a lot of recommendations, but there are several things that we're not recommending we change. This includes holiday parking from Thanksgiving to New Year's, free parking on Sundays, keeping the rate at a maximum of 50 cents per hour. Parking tickets would remain at $7, and mobile payments would continue to be accepted. In fact, with the new technology, that program will be enhanced because mobile payments will be accepted throughout the entire system. So we're here today to request your action to approve the proposed amendment changes with the condition that we revisit this in 6 months. It's our goal to continue to evaluate and look at the data as it's coming in from the new system, data that we've never had before, to recommend further changes or reverting changes in the future. Thank you for your time.
All right, we'll open it up for questions. So a little more explanation on a couple of the points, if you would, for them. How many spaces are we adding?
Through these set of recommendations, we're not adding any parking spaces.
Okay.
But we're going to be utilizing more of the spaces that were not metered through these recommendations.
Okay. How many times are for lack of a better term, guests to Hudson, how many times can they load the meters?
So the 3-hour time limit does apply to all of the metered spaces. However, at this time, we're not recommending enforcing what the parking industry would call an anti-shuffling rule. So what that means is even though there's a 3-hour time limit in these spaces, you could plug the meters again for an additional 3 hours. That may become a future recommendation depending on the data that we have.
And the costs that we're doing, how long is it going to take us to pay off what we're looking to initially invest?
So with the help of city finance, we've established about a 3.5-year payback based on the recommended changes.
And to segue for the committee, there are so many different spots in the town that have never been enforced. Mm-hmm. So we're going to realize, and we're making assumptions that we're going to make a little more money, or a lot more money if we're able to.
Well, and the 3.5-year payoff is based on leaving things the same for the next 3.5 years. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Correct. The 3.5-year payback is based on these recommendations presented here.
And we may make some changes before that.
We may.
It's always fluid. I mean, this is something
That's
we're
why
gonna
we've
mold
got this, is so
into-
that we can
Fits with what we're
make some
looking.
changes that would have more parking spaces available when people need them.
It's dynamic, right?
Oh, you're talking to her way too much.
Councilmember Morris said, if I could go back to, you asked, will
Absolutely.
any parking spaces be added? Through the addition of the beach lot, they would be seasonally.
Correct. Okay.
And
Or, I'm sorry, the boat launch
Yeah.
lot.
I got what you knew.
have the kiosks been received yet by the city? When do we expect them?
Mid-April.
Mid-April. So when do you think they'll be installed?
We're looking for an installation date, kind of mid-May, before,
Okay.
we'll give a couple week window before Memorial Day.
Okay, so then they should be operational all summer.
And a big piece is that we have a chamber member that stepped up to help us with a marketing plan. So we are going to, maybe you could talk to this, Mary Claire, if you don't mind, on what we're going to, yes, what we're going to do for a marketing plan. Thanks, Nick. You stay close, though.
Thank you, Mary Claire with the Hudson Chamber. So yes, we one of the recommendations from the parking study was to hire a communications consultant to help us market and promote and talk about what these changes are. So it's going to be through a number of different medias, where, on the website, through the chamber, through the city's website. We're putting together a marketing piece or brochure that's going to outline how this program is going to work, that we can go business to business to explain it to everyone about how they can explain it to their employees and how they can explain it to their guests coming to town too. Because these are changes, it is different, but I think as Councilmember Alm says, it is a dynamic system that can be changed as need be. And once we have the data after 6 months, we'll really be able to review that. But yes, we have a consultant to help us message these changes to the community.
Would that brochure be available to be put into the utility bills?
I asked that question, and apparently the utility machine is outdated. It can't handle.
Order a new one. I don't know how soon it's going to be here.
Oh, okay.
The machine we have right now is about 14 years old. We've lived too long. We did order a new one to lease. I don't know when it's coming, and I don't know, we probably have to come unfolded. I mean, the brochures would, because the machine folds and stuff.
Okay.
But it's a possibility, depending on timing and everything, when we get our machines.
When do the bills go out? Do they go out?
February, I think May is the next.
May is the next one. So there'd be enough time to get, I mean, at least put something in, I mean, even if it's a slip of paper and not a full brochure, just saying
We also have
new
a
parking
slide
rules coming.
on the bottom of the bill.
Yes.
We could at least, if nothing else, we could get on the bottom all the utility bills.
Okay, that would be good too.
Parking rules will go into effect whatever date.
Yeah, and then,
Check the city website, and we'll have.
Joyce, I like your enthusiasm, but the whole plan about marketing, I agree. We talked about this maybe in second quarter billing for that. But we've got we're going to do the signs over for the parking lots, and we really want to roll this out to the general public to make it as streamlined, as easy as possible.
I know. We don't want to disturb.
So I don't want to put a piece of paper in an envelope and say parking's changing. I want to do it the right way. We're paying for this service,
Okay.
so we're going to market it the right way. I agree.
Yeah.
I like that what you're saying and what was talked about.
Well, if there's a way that the marketing people can use the utility bills, please let us know.
No, we'll add that to the list of that. But great idea. Thank you for that.
Any questions for Mary Claire? Any questions for Nick?
I do have questions. So,
For who?
so who's going to review either of these fine folks? Who's going to review all the data?
Us.
Is that the committee or is that the
It'll
council?
come from the parking committee back to this, and then we recommend the council
Gotcha.
or / finance and council.
We
Gotcha.
built a whole pro forma, pretty detailed pro forma. We'll know once the cash starts coming in and out, how we're benchmarking.
Gotcha. And then I have one last question. How did you arrive at the 3-hour parking on 2nd Street? That to me feels like a 2-hour parking type of a location.
We felt that might allow more people visiting downtown to enjoy a meal and do some shopping in one
Gotcha.
stay.
Okay.
Because ideally, if you're going to one of the restaurants, you could wait 30 to 45 minutes.
Sure.
Gives you,
Hmm.
you know, an hour to eat. And it
Right.
just, we want to promote turning those parking spots.
Hmm.
And that's part of it.
We did set up a number of different zones though, because like we talked about being dynamic, if all of a sudden we realize that 2 hours is more than adequate, we'll have that ability to make that change
I'm just
pretty
thinking,
quickly.
gotcha. I'm just thinking if I'm going to come down and eat at one of our fine restaurants, right, and I park at 5:01, I'm plugging that meter once. I'm not turning that space over because at 8 o'clock we're not charging, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
But the other point is if you plug and you put it in at 5 and you leave at 7, someone new will come in and
Sure.
start a whole new, well, I guess it's just an hour, but.
Doesn't give them that,
Right.
we're actually going to make a little more
Mm-hmm.
because we're getting rid of that leg time that someone else paid for,
mhm.
which helps the payoff.
Good point. Good point.
The other, I think, additional piece that we didn't touch is that you'll be able to pay by credit card now too. So you'll have the coin, passport, and the new option of paying by credit card.
No dollar bills because it costs more in the machine and it's harder on the battery life.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
So it'll only be coins and credit cards.
Yep.
All right.
Or the
And
mobile
what?
app.
In the app.
And the app, yes.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't part of this system where they can plug their information into the kiosk somehow and get a text alert if they're about to come due, and they can automatically add time to whatever method they use to pay?
Only once.
Or is that just the app?
Through the mobile app, you can.
Only once, right? If you're already parked.
Correct.
But it helps, like if you go to dinner and a show at the Phipps, per se, and you find a spot in one of the 3-hour zones, you can get an alert that says, oh geez, your time is about to run up, and add some time to it.
Just remember, you have to shut cell phones off in the FIP Center.
So it is pretty user-friendly from what I understand.
All right, so if a person moves their car from one zone to another, and they still had time left in the first zone, will they be able to apply it to the second zone?
As our recommendations are proposed, we're going to treat all of the zones as the same. So if they do switch to another zone, they'll have to follow the same rules. Their time will not follow them to that other zone.
Okay.
If they move their car within that zone, their time will follow them.
Okay, even if they're using the app?
Correct.
Okay. And then the data. Is the company that supplies the kiosks, do they collect the data and then redistribute it back, or does the data go directly to the city?
The data will be sent over a cellular modem
Mm-hmm.
to the company that provides the meters. They will store and house that data. We will have access to that data through a web browser.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Very,
exciting.
very dynamic.
So dynamic.
I appreciate you noting that it is dynamic.
You're very welcome. I believe it's been noted a few
Yes,
times
right.
tonight
Yes.
as well.
Very dynamic. And a dynamic presentation, if I may say.
Nice job, Nick.
For the viewing audience, an inside joke. But it is a good system.
It is.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, so you want a move to approve all of the changes and send that to council?
Yes.
Okay, I will make the motion to approve all the changes to the ordinance and send that to the council.
And I'll second that.
With staff recommendations to review in 6 months.
Yeah.
With the, okay,
Thank you.
yep, with the recommendation to
okay.
review in 6 months.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes for recommendation to council. That would be on the 25th of March. Thank you. Thanks, Nick. Number 4, discuss some possible action on Hanley Road pedestrian crossings at O'Neill Road and Heritage Boulevard. Chief, but this sounds like a bill.
Actually, this is Mike, yeah.
Wow.
I think, well, it goes without saying that we redid Hanley Road, and one of the things that I kind of questioned was there's two points at which you cross Hanley Road, right? One by Heritage Boulevard, one by O'Neill. And there's, quite a bit of traffic on that street, and I had asked if we could potentially put lighted crosswalks there, where you push a button and the little flashing lights go. And it appears that the entire project came in for less than the estimate.
Yeah, we came in approximately 40,000 under budget on the project. So just looking to use some of the funds to purchase the lighted crosswalks at the two intersections for safe pedestrian crossing. It'd be similar to what we have on St. Croix and 2nd Street. A user activated pedestrian crossing on each side of the road. You press it, LED lights flash. So really good system, wide open area for people to see. So
What do you think?
I like it.
Okay. Joyce, anything?
No, move to approve.
Second?
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Number 5, discussion possible action on a stop sign on 12th Street and Fillmore Street. Joyce, this is another one that has come back.
Yes. So, Jerry Warnkin was the one who had brought this up, but I guess he's not here tonight. So, you've got information. Do you want to just for the viewers give the information?
Sure, I
You've got
don't
in
have
your
it with me because I
packet?
wasn't going to print off the 400 pages, and I don't have an
No.
electronic way to do it. But I believe there were 23 deployments. We had our folks go out there and monitor that intersection during various times of the day. I believe there were 23 deployments, and of those deployments, we made 5 traffic stops. 8 warnings, 5 of those were for stop sign violations. So, I mean, it doesn't appear that there's a large volume of traffic going through there. And of the volume of traffic, I mean, if you're talking 23 deployments, a deployment is anywhere from 15 minutes to a half hour observing that intersection. And to only have essentially 8 violations, I don't know how much of a problem as far as our data collection is, but again, you have a fully marked squad car sitting at the intersection.
That
And
kind of makes
might-
people slow down and
but obviously we can't do that at every intersection that we have a problem at all the
Right.
time, especially with our staffing levels right now. But, we do the best we can, I guess. It didn't appear as though it was a flagrant disregard for the semaphore there. But, I don't know. I don't know what Mr. Warnkin is seeing or.
Would it meet our the stop sign policy? Have you reviewed that and any lately?
It was some time ago. I haven't dug into it.
I would caution, I've always cautioned about putting up so many signs. And
Yeah.
Well, there's already a stop sign there.
Yeah. But he wants, what did he want? More.
I think just better enforcement.
I mean, weren't we talking about flags added onto that and whatnot?
Yeah, I don't even remember exactly what he asked for, except
He
for
was
more.
wondering, he was concerned with the traffic in that area and wanted to look at some ideas to remedy the issues.
Yeah, I mean, short of putting in a speed bump or something like that, I don't know what else we could do.
Maybe we just need to monitor it some more, do what you're doing, more enforcement, and if it comes back, then do the next thing.
Yeah, and I got another complaint about at the beginning of school and at the end of the school day, all of the concerns about that intersection. And one day I was driving to work.
The same one?
The same intersection, yeah. That you've got all these people parking to drop off their kids. That seems to be a popular spot to drop off their kids. And So then they pull around the corner, they stop, and, it just it jams things up. Then there's no sidewalks there either, going down the hill. In fact, one morning I was going to work and it was still dark out. There was a student coming up the hill towards the school, and I was I didn't even see him until I was, right next to him practically. So that's really a concern. Is there something that we could do with Safe Routes to School to look at this intersection a little more thoroughly?
I don't even know that they addressed that area in their study.
Mm-hmm. Are they still available to do some more?
The committee probably, not the
Probably
okay.
the committee could probably get together and see if there's something that we could do. But I mean, that would, from what I can visualize about Fillmore, I mean, you have houses built on hills with significant retaining walls going right up to the road. I don't even know.
Yeah.
What
I know, there's no room
what you
for-
would be able
for
to
sidewalks.
do. The lighting is probably pretty poor in that area.
Yes, I've had complaints about that.
The road is-
We've talked about that.
The road is probably pretty narrow because it's part of the older part of town, right, where we
Yep.
had.
And then
different rules,
the
but-
pavement is in horrible shape, and I've been trying to get somebody to get that fixed.
At 12th and Fillmore on the top of the hill there.
Yeah, so between 11th and 12th on Fillmore is just a wreck.
Yeah, Fillmore is bad, and it is a tricky intersection, right? You come down a hill, come up to a stop sign, and then that stop sign is on the top of another rather large hill.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was poor design, 200 years ago. How do we rectify it now?
Could you make it a one-way and add a sidewalk?
Well, there's a thought.
You're getting into a lot of. I'm not a fan of turning things into one ways unless.
Well,
Especially at Fillmore, because where's the other way?
yeah, that's
Then you got to turn Pitt into another one way.
well, that's an exit. Yeah, entrance and exit to that neighborhood back there.
Yeah, because
It's hard to
then
get back there as it is.
and that caveats into Oak, and has the access to that whole area, that whole neighborhood.
Have you had an epiphany or any people give you ideas about what they think that we should do there?
They don't have any ideas. Well, they'd like to see sidewalks,
Well,
and
they want to pay for it.
yeah, I know. And I've explained that
Yeah.
it's difficult to expect the property owners to install sidewalks. No, there haven't been a lot of suggestions.
That's why you get paid the big
Yeah,
bucks to
that's
figure
right.
it out. Huh?
Well, and to your point, to all your points, we haven't had crashes
No.
there. We haven't had an actual documented problem in that area. It's been complaints, right, from citizens, which obviously are impactful, right?
Yeah.
We hear you, but there hasn't been a lot of data that suggests that the problem is as big as we think.
I think, though, that another light, I think that I'd have to go back there to see where the lighting is, but I think there's lighting at the intersection. But there's not any lighting between 12th and Fillmore and 11th and Fillmore. And having and that was what was requested before and was turned down, was another light in between those two intersections. And so that might be useful, and it wasn't that expensive to put that in.
Yeah, my only concern on that would be the old growth trees. Would the light even do anything?
Okay.
Those are pretty old trees in that neighborhood that are pretty big and pretty tall. And I don't know if that's something.
But
that
I
we
think
can
there's
just
a
turn
utility
away.
pole already in there, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Should we?
Why don't we investigate it?
Yeah, let's take a look at it.
We can contact Andrea Jorgensen with XL Energy, who's a community
Yeah.
representative, and maybe they can help us put a light up
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
All right, so let's put that on the next agenda.
Somebody's going to have to reach out to Andrea. I don't know
I can if you want.
if you want.
Well, if you guys want it to be one of you guys, you can do that. Otherwise, I can do it too. It doesn't matter.
I can do it. You want to do it? or-
Whoever, no, if somebody else is willing to do it, I'll let them.
I will make a note and I'll do it.
Okay, thank you.
So let's bring it back at our next meeting then.
Yeah, and another issue that was brought up Okay, so I got
Same intersection?
Well, yeah, well, it's back in Oak Street. And it's not for discussion. I just want to ask the police chief about the buses that were parking on Oak Street back there. I forwarded an email about that. Was there anything that can be done to discourage them from?
Well, you got to put them somewhere then. So where do you want to put the buses? And that's the main question that comes up.
Okay, so they're waiting for.
Okay, this isn't on the agenda, so
okay.
I want
All right.
to move on.
Yep.
We can certainly put it on our next agenda if we need to talk about it.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not sure we need a motion for what you're doing. So we'll move on to number 6. You good with that, Jess?
Yeah, because if we put it on the next agenda,
Okay.
we're not having any action.
Discussion possible action on recruiting and hiring officers. Chief.
Yeah, so I just wanted to update you. It was my intention to come to this group before we did the last one that we just hired, just to kind of give you guys a heads up, but then we ended up canceling some meetings in there and it kind of time got away from us.
So this is the one we approved on Monday?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is the one that we approved on Monday, a different recruiting tactic that we're trying to use, a different hiring process, which just changed again this morning to try and streamline the time a little bit. Because what we were doing was running into issues where our process was taking so long that by the time we got around to offering jobs to qualified candidates, they were already taking jobs other places.
Okay.
So this is one of those things that we're trying to do to see if it helps with recruitment.
I'm all for it if we can do it and get you some officers.
And, and the biggest thing with these is the money in the budget. Well, the money is in the budget because they're open vacant positions right now. So it's really the budget impact per se is not.
So all right, so the students, they finish the 2-year criminal justice program at the technical college or some other program, and then they go to the academy. So is that when you want to hire them, is when they start the academy?
Well, or before.
Or before, okay.
We don't want to pigeonhole ourselves into only getting recruits that have already identified a career in law enforcement, right? There's a lot of people at the 4-year universities that still, as a senior, don't really know what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. In Wisconsin, you only need 60 college credits. You don't need a certified degree to become a police officer. You just need the 60 college credits and then the police academy. So one of our tactics is to go to these career fairs at the universities and try to build relationships in a little bit broader net to pitch the idea of possibly becoming a police officer to these people that may have thought of being a chemistry teacher. So they went to college for chemistry, but now they don't want to be a teacher anymore. Now what are they going to do with their chemistry degree? Well, you can still come and be a police officer with a chemistry degree. It doesn't matter what your degree is in. So the idea is...
Sign me up.
Yeah, the idea is to recruit these kids that thought one thing when they graduated high school and decided to go to college because it's going to be better than nothing. And then halfway through college, they realized, I still don't really know what I want to do. Mm-hmm. So this gives us an avenue that we can then sponsor them to go through the academy. And we can hire them, basically pay them to go to school, and then all of the other costs are
Have you talked to Nick? Is he excited about what we did?
Yes.
Good.
So how long is the academy?
It's about 18 weeks, depending on the time of the year. It's 720 hours.
Okay.
So they go 40 hours a week for 18 weeks, generally. Mm-hmm. In the fall or winter session is a little different because you've got the holidays in there, so you have some extra time. But they run 3 academies a year, and it's back to, there's some overlap, and especially
is that
with
classroom or field?
Both.
Well,
Both classroom, field, scenario-based kind of instruction.
So somebody with a bachelor's degree can apply for the academy, and then that would be enough training for them to become a police officer in the state?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't even need a degree to apply for the academy.
Okay.
Because in fact you have, I think it's 5 years to get your 60 college credits after you've completed the academy. and you could get a job after you complete the academy in law enforcement, and then sometime in that 5 years, then you have to go back and get the 60 college credits,
Okay.
which can be difficult in a law enforcement career with the schedule and the crazy hours. So we try to encourage people to at least get the 60 college credits. Excuse me, and then go to the academy. And then some people don't have the means by which to do that, so that's where this kind of helps them out. Gives them an avenue to get there. So I just wanted to, like I said, my intention was in February to talk about these ideas, and I felt like I kind of went over your heads the last time just because of timing, so I wanted to bring it up on this agenda to make sure that.
Well, we'll let that go this way.
Yeah, you should have brought it to finance.
I did last week.
Wait a second. That's almost.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, too. You're trying to think outside the box to get that. Thank you. Number 7, discussion possible action to conduct MS Walk on May 4th, 2019, beginning and ending at the Hudson Middle School. Chief.
Yeah, so they did this again. They did this last year. There are adult crossing guards at every intersection to assist people crossing the streets with traffic vests and flags. Last year's event, I don't believe we used law enforcement,
Okay.
and it was fine.
No issues?
No issues. So I would recommend that based on the same plan, the same map, and the same volunteers that they had last year that are trained crossing guards and adults, that we let them keep going.
Any
Move to
questions?
approve.
Second.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Number 8, discussion possible action to conduct Celebrate Difference Run Walk on April 6, 2019 at 9 a.m. beginning and ending at Little River Elementary School.
This one, again, is a recurring event. They do hire law enforcement to help with the crossings of, I believe it's 3rd and St. Croix, or 3rd and Vine, and then 7th and Vine. Even though there are sidewalks there, there's also barricades at St. Croix Street to allow people safe haven back into the school area. But we had a law enforcement presence. I believe we had two law enforcement officers with marked squads helping that situation out last year, and they again requested that this year, so we will oblige them.
Good. Very good.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Number 9, discussion possible action on the 2019 flood predictions. Mr. Mike, I think that's you, or is Jeff gonna?
That's Mike.
And I'm glad that you've got this on there because the general public really needs to know what we have in store. A lot of publicity happening in Stillwater.
Yeah, so it's kind of been a driver of us getting a message out to the public and what the city's going to do for the residents of the city of Hudson. So we had a meeting with kind of some emergency staff last week, and we discussed plans, preparations for the upcoming spring flood season. And basically, what's been done to date is I drafted a letter informing those residents that are going to be most impacted by the flood, pending flood event, along Front Street and Prales Trail mainly, those two areas, and notified them that basically, that the city does have sandbags available for purchase, at a very discounted rate. We're going to be delivering sand in 2 locations. Right now it's on Front Street just south of the I-94 bridge, and then at the West Public Works Garage. We may move that down to Prales Trail. I'm going out there tomorrow morning to speak with some of the residents down there and kind of get engage of what they're thinking, just for easier access, that type of thing. They don't have to transport the sandbags as far. So the city's got sandbags. We're going to be supplying sand, and then it's basically up to the resident to contact volunteer groups. In the letter I did give them, I reached out to Faith Community Church, who has volunteers willing to help, United Way of St. Croix, and then also on our website, I put out there if anybody's looking to help with flood preparation efforts to give my office a call. We're making a running list, which will we then turn over to United Way of St. Croix by the end of this week, that they can call just in case people do need some assistance, helping fill sandbags and building a dike, that type of thing.
Yeah,
But
and I do know that the Front Street residents have requested assistance, and just kind of piggybacking on there, I know that Stillwater has almost 800 people on a volunteer list. Are you getting some?
we probably have a couple dozen so
Okay.
far. But like I said, Faith Community Church, Boy Scouts have reached out to me. The YMCA just reached out to me today, so I'm going to call Chris tomorrow, see what he has for volunteer efforts. But yeah, you know, with we're in a different elevation wise as far as Stillwater, so we're a little more fortunate with kind of our downtown area. A lot of it is out of the flood zone and forecasted flood zone, so you know, we don't have to do extensive diking downtown area. You know, there will be some roads that will probably be closed, especially on First Street and Buckeye intersection. You know, Front Street will be closed if it gets to the levels that they're talking to. But, you know, as far as that widespread flooding like Stillwater has in their downtown area, Hudson's fortunate. So,
Right.
and like I emailed all the council members, the letter, the work plan that we have that was developed back in 2017 or 18. You know, we got some good information from the county that I forwarded on to the residents. So I think we're trying to be as proactive as we can, getting the message out early. You know, it's difficult to build a dike now with all the snow yet in the boulevards and stuff like that, but at least we're making it available for people that do want to start and start thinking about that. So.
What are they predicting, and what is our floodplain?
So right now, next Monday, NOAA just released an updated flood report, and they're at about 84 feet. It's going to be up to 84 feet, 684 by next week, Monday. Minor flood stage starts at 687. You know, major is 691.
690 or 691.
Yeah. So, you know, there's a 50% chance that it's going to reach a major flood stage. So fortunately, you know, it's been cool the last three or 4 days. If we don't get any more rain, you know, it's all weather dependent.
100-year event? Or no?
I sure hope not, Randy.
Okay, so that's even
Yeah.
above 691?
Yeah, it's, 100-year events, you know, 694 was back in 1965. There's a 10% chance that it reaches that level again.
Okay, good.
So, yeah.
So I want to make sure that the general public, rest assured, the city of Hudson has an action plan in place.
Yep.
And that's something that we need to make sure is out there.
Yep, and we contact the marina. You know, we have plans if it does get up to that 692, 693 level. You know, we'll be sandbagging in front of the water treatment facility. So, you know, I know in years past, city staff has been available to assist with sandbagging efforts. In previous communities that I've worked at, we've kind of left it up to the homeowner for their responsibility to take care of their private homes. You know, the city is more than willing to get the sandbags, get the sand, coordinate some volunteer efforts, that type of thing, but leaving it up to the residents because we don't want the liability. And we also have infrastructure that we got to protect too, and we need to have our workforce available for those areas as well. So, but yeah, if you have any questions or you hear anything, get phone calls, send them to me. Like I said, I got software programs where it tells exact elevations within the downtown area. I know Sarah has reached out to me a couple times for people just asking, wondering, and I'm able to go in that program and say, you know, you're at 710 feet, you're 15 feet above the 100-year flood, so you'll be okay. But
Very nice.
all right.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Yep.
Any questions for
Do
Mike?
have a question.
Yeah.
So, thank you. What is there any city assets, any city buildings? I know you talked about the water treatment facility.
Yep.
Is there anything else? Police department? Anything that needs? What's that reach?
We've
exactly?
started, Public Works staff has started to kind of clear out Buckeye Garage and put
Got
stuff
it.
up on shelves there. The beach bathhouse, possibly, if it gets up to that kind of 691, 692 level. There's not a lot in there right now, so we're pretty fortunate there. But
Sure.
for the main part, it's water treatment facility in Buckeye Garage that we pay close attention to for city infrastructure in the downtown area.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What is the height where it overtakes First Street? Down on the south.
Oh, when it takes First Street, right around that 687, 688 level. So they're talking 684 next week, Monday.
Yeah.
So
So
about
is there
three
a plan
more.
then to just close First Street from that couple of blocks to Buckeye, if that happens?
Oh, you're talking First Street. I'm sorry, I thought you meant Front Street. I don't think it takes over First Street until about 690. area. But I mean, we'll be blasting it out on our social media, you know, homepage, and we'll have lighted barricades, road closed barricades out. So, like I said, it's going to be just kind of a wait and see game for us as far as the roads that we're going to have to close down and how we're going to have to route traffic. So, hopefully we don't have to get that way, but we're prepared if we do. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
All righty, informational items. Anything? If not, we'll go to the EMS. Josh, you have any thing?
I got nothing.
Okay. I think your plate's been full. And again, I thank you for all the hard work. Police fire's gone to police department updates.
We'll be starting a new hiring process here in the next day or two. We just changed the procedure again. There's not going to be a written test function anymore. Part of trying to whittle down the time it takes from someone sends an application in to the time we actually have a workable list to go from. It was at about 5-6 months. We're going to try and tailor that down to about 2 months from the time we open applications to the time we have a workable list. So we're going to implement a application scoring matrix and have the applicants answer some essay questions so that we can get to learn a little bit about them, learn about their experiences and their history a little bit before an interview process, and then scheduling the interviews right away with us, and at the same time scheduling the Police and Fire Commission interviews to try and alleviate some of that wasted weeks of waiting and wondering what's going on in there. So we're going to see how that works. Currently we have 2 open positions. We're looking to fill one of those from a gentleman on the previous list, but that clearly leaves at least one more, and we may have additional coming up in the near future. So we're looking at hiring probably another 2 to be realistic, based upon in addition to the 3 that we're looking at hiring now. That would get us up to our full staff finally, which we haven't seen in a number of years, so that's exciting news. Other than that, we're busy. The weather is warming up, and people had cabin fever a little bit, so I just want to remind people to let cooler heads prevail a bit, and just because there's appears to be dry roads, there's icy spots, so let's not make the roadways our racetracks. Very busy with crashes still on the Carmichael corridor, so just use caution and let spring come to us.
Yeah, amen, right?
Yeah, but other than that, that's all I've got.
Okay. Any other items for future agendas?
Just had a question on where we are with the mapping in the electronics as we were talking about the sex offender piece.
Yeah, Mike Johnson got the computers in. They're just waiting for them to be set up.
Gotcha.
And as soon as that happens, then we'll be able to
Excellent.
Implement new mapping.
And I can talk, and then we'll look for that as a future agenda. Don't know that will be April or not, but yeah, some background work before
Very good.
we do that.
Good. Anything else for the committee? Seeing none?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Want to hang out until 7? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
Where are we going to go?